The views expressed in this interview are those of the individuals and do not reflect the official policy or position of the U.S. government, the Department of Defense, the U.S. Navy, or the Naval Postgraduate School. Welcome to the Trident Room, brewer of stout conversation, unfiltered and on tap. On today's episode, Trident Room host Michael Gannon sits down with Dr. Mikhail Auguston.
We sort of accidentally skipped over it today. Would you like to introduce yourself? How you got to NPS and became a professor here? We jumped right into Monterey Phoenix.
Maybe. Well, originally I am from Latvia.
Okay.
It's a little Baltic country. It was part of Soviet Empire. Well, now more than 30 years it's independent. So I was born and grew up. Went to school in Riga. It's capital of Latvia. And I completed University of Latvia mathematics. So my formal specialty is mathematics. And I was interested from early, when I was a student, I started to get interested in behavior modeling and logic of behavior. Well, temporal logic was known in those times, but Are you familiar with temporal logic? Have you at least some basic concepts, right? So this is an attempt to apply first-order predicate logic to behaviors.
Okay.
So essentially events, but then you use first-order predicate logic to reason about events. Quantifiers. For all events, some property holds. Exist events such that exist another event. This kind of relationship. But first-order predicate logic is too static. Set of events and nothing else. And then somehow popped up for me, I cannot even now remember how, but that you need the concepts of behavior, and this is called precedence and inclusion. And then when you bring them into first-order predicate logic, then you get Monterey Phoenix, essentially.
Okay.
So you can tell that Monterey Phoenix was application of traditional logic to specific domain behavior. And the first application was behavior of software, of course, and I built some prototypes. And idea was the following: in order to reason about behavior of software. Well, the software debugging is very difficult and challenging task. When you write a software, you make mistakes, that's for sure. And they may be very expensive and very difficult to catch and fix.
Yeah.
And what software engineers do most of the time, they are fixing errors.
Fixing the previous mistake.
Right, because humans are humans, and you
we
cannot imagine what can happen, right? You look at this finite object source code, and we cannot even imagine there are possible executions which yield something absolutely unexpected.
Yeah.
This was how Monterey Phoenix was born.
And that was in 91, you said?
Yes, something around this. I developed a system called Forman,
Okay.
formal annotations language. And the idea was that you look at the software, and software is source of behavior, source of events. What kind of events? Execute statement, evaluate expression, call subroutines. Those are events, and it comes hierarchy here, right? And then comes ordering, right? Statements are ordered, and so on. This is how first behavior models has been designed. Behavior of programs. In order to implement it, what we need now, you are talking about events, statement execution, expression evaluation, subroutine calls. In order to extract events from source code, you have to run the program and detect events.
And then track it.
Instrumentation. So I implemented the first tool to instrument source code. I guess it was for PL1. PL1 in those times was major programming language.
And then where were you at that time?
In Latvia.
You were still in Latvia?
Yes,
Okay.
I worked at University of Latvia.
Okay.
Institute of Mathematics and Computer Science.
All right.
So I implemented instrumentation tool for PL1 so that you automatically, so you describe first of all what events you would like to watch.
Yeah.
And from these descriptions, the tool instruments your software so that it will detect appropriate events. Then you run instrumented program, and there will be special piece of software which will now detect events and do whatever you would like to check.
Okay.
Automatically, monitoring and evaluation of properties of behavior. So this was the beginning of this story. And then what happened? It was, in early 90s, because I worked at the University of Latvia from after graduation in late 70s, I believe, something around 78. So when Soviet Union collapsed, it became possible to travel abroad, because before it was.
Yeah. And then
And I got invited to Sweden for 1 year as it was kind of visiting
like
research,
adjunct
something
professorship.
like that, for 1 year at university in Linköping. And I continued to work, and they liked what I have done. And then finally they offered me to stay there. So I moved to Sweden, and then started to work at University in Linköping and teaching there. And then again I got my academic year, I guess, after 7 years or something, and got invited to United States, to New Mexico State University for 1 year.
Okay.
I came to New Mexico 1 year, and they offered me to stay.
So you stayed.
I stayed in New Mexico, became professor at New Mexico State University in Las Cruces.
What year was that?
Huh?
What year was that?
Probably 1991, something around this. Early 90s, I believe. No, wait. Was it 1990? No. It was 2000 probably.
No, it's in the 90s.
In 90s, yeah, 90s. Yeah,
So probably late 90s, most likely?
No, something beginning of 90s probably, yeah, something like this. I spent several years. I have to look online on my description. Yeah. So I was professor at New Mexico State University, and then my academic year, and they invited me here to NPS.
For an academic year? And then you just stuck around.
See, that's pattern of behavior.
Yeah.
And then again, I spent 1 year, and they offered a position finally. So I ended up being here. It was in early 2000s, I guess. Yeah, so I became professor here. So, but all the time I did testing and debugging, automation, behavior modeling, and this kind of things. Oh yeah, well, because I had needed to implement this program instrumentation, right? To run program software and detect events, I needed a tool for this, and as a side effect, I invented yet another programming language called Regal. It is a language for compiler writing.
Okay.
It's useful language tool, still available publicly online. Again, if you go on my website, you'll find it out. I'm very satisfied. It's powerful and a useful tool. There are other tools for compiler writing. If you have heard Lexan, for example. Are you familiar? No. But you're a computer science person.
I was my first round of college.
Yes.
But that led. I didn't do successfully my first round. Dropped out.
But you know what is compiler about, right? Mm-hmm. Compiler is a program which takes description in specific programming language and converts it into something executable. Okay, but compiler is very special kind of software, and in order to write it, it's not easy. There are some patterns or some common difficulties and solutions to them. So I developed a programming language to write compilers, and it's still available, and I use it in all implementations of
MP.
Behavior, MP, and so on. Yeah, Regal. It's also quite useful and interesting project. So I have programming languages is my hobby in some sense. I just, this is how I became computer scientist, because I liked programming languages. Again, since, you probably never read Algol 60 report. I suggest to do it. It's for historical reasons. Algol 60 is history, but it's still worth to read it, the philosophy. Because this was, what is Algol 60? It was really understanding and introduction of very fundamental ideas. What is high-level programming language? What it is about? It is about capturing the way how we think about computers, how we think about using computers. They are common things. Algorithmic languages, it is way how we solve problems. And they capture it. They help you to organize your thoughts. Algol 60, this first description, it's a great thing. Again, strongly suggest take a look.
Really?
It's worth it. Philosophy, there's Algo 60, you can imagine how many, 80 years ago, right?
Wow.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
60 years, 60
Yeah,
years ago.
something like that.
Yeah, still worth to take a look. When I read it, this is when I became really crazy about programming languages. Algo 60, it was my turning
Was the
point.
the turning point?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I have to say, it's actually really impressive to hear your career, because it sounds like you'd be tasked with something, you had something to do, you'd come across, realize there's no actual good way of doing it, and then you invented something to do it better, and you sounds like you've done that a couple times now.
Yeah, I have done
That's-
several times, of course. Yeah, I've already designed some concepts and programming tools and language for compiler design, for behavior modeling, visual programming a little bit, and so on. Yeah, I like it. I like programming languages, because if you look at this depth a little, this is principles how humans use computers. Right?
Yeah.
When you use some complicated devices, you develop certain set of concepts and approaches. Not only computers,
Yeah.
even for driving a car, there's certain patterns and concepts, right?
You've got to make a decision. If I see brake lights, then I
Yes.
need to,
And
either.
certain things they
Yeah.
somehow converge into something common. Well, why steering wheel, for example? First
Okay.
cars didn't have steering wheels.
No?
Oh, look at the history. The first cars, they were different.
Yeah.
It took some time to recognize that
Yeah.
steering wheel is the right control mechanism for car.
That doesn't shock me. I know we had electric cars before the internal combustion engine really came
And they
on.
used different
Yeah.
buttons, maybe sticks, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But gradually people find out the most appropriate ways how to control processes, right? So think about programming languages. This is the right thing, or steering wheels for using computers.
All right.
So this is interesting to look from this point of view. And still, since solving problems with computers is much more complicated than for driving a car, we need more concepts and more tools, more different kinds of steering wheels. This is programming languages is about. And it never will stop. When you discover new application domains, earlier or later we'll end up with new programming languages.
Okay.
You know examples?
Well, Python.
Artificial
obviously.
intelligence, for example.
Okay,
It
machine
brings-
learning.
Yes,
And-
yes, and
yeah.
they come with formalisms now.
Yeah.
They're programming language which encompasses essential, typical ways how to express
Yeah.
solving problems with AI.
But AI fundamentally is about balancing choices to distinguish in probabilities to get the best of whatever the desired outcome. Isn't it just a
Much more.
Much
Much
more?
more. It's also about thinking patterns.
okay?
Artificial intelligence is a typical ways how to solve problems. It is smart search. Some of the artificial intelligence methods are just brute force.
Okay.
Just try all of them, but
Yeah.
numbers grow up so quickly that you cannot afford it, right?
Yeah.
Then you have to do it in smart ways, and this is AI. Smart patterns, how to do search, but smart.
Recognizing.
Avoiding,
Yeah.
typical patterns, and you look at AI literature immediately, you'll find out patterns.
Yeah, that would.
Typical ways how to do things.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, we've got what is it, Watson, the IBM Watson. It beat the guy in Go recently. We
Yeah.
finally have beaten chess champions. And I mean, yeah,
And they have certain things behind them, right? Typical behavior patterns, if you wish, right?
Mhm.
Typical ways how to organize solution. This is
Yeah.
it. It earlier or later becomes programming language, domain-specific language. This is why it's so interesting. Programming languages essentially they capture ways how we solve problems using computers. Each time when you recognize a new application domain, it will end up with a new programming language, which captures typical ways how to do it.
nice.
Mhm.
That's amazing.
It never
We've-
will end.
Yeah, we've covered a lot in this. fundamental concepts of programming languages, everything about MP, what it has done, what it can do, what it's useful for, and how it's,
Look at Adventure,
yeah,
for example, of Ada,
Yeah.
What was the claims initially? Ada will be universal programming language for all people and for all times. Well, no way.
Yeah.
It was for particular time, for particular
Yeah,
level
level.
of knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Now Ada, well, people using, but it is not mainstream anymore, right?
Yeah.
Then internet came up and Ada was helpless about it. So we have programming language which capture typical
Yeah.
solutions using internet and so on and so on. Programming language is essentially, collection of patterns how to solve problems. Behaviors, because programs are behaviors. You have to describe solution of program as some kind of process. This is it. MP is also, at this moment, captures the current state of art and what will happen in 10 years.
Who knows? All right. If there's any one thing you'd like to impart on the listeners.
Well, no, 2 or 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
But well, just keep your eyes open and just, don't stop to ask questions, good questions. Asking a good question is very important, and sometimes good question is worth more than answer to it. Right, to ask a good question. This is a big art. If you would like to summarize in short what is good science or being a good researcher, it is ability to ask good questions. Ask questions. Don't stop. This is why kids are so successful. They ask questions. They don't know things. They ask. They look at the world with open eyes, and sometimes they ask questions that we didn't even think about. So asking questions and children questions sometimes are amazing, right?
Yeah.
So asking good questions, this is a core of all this.
Awesome.
Ask good questions. This has to be written with huge letters.
Yeah.
Whatever it is,
Yeah.
Well, the same here. So you can ask questions. What is the purpose of podcast? What you would like to achieve? What you want to avoid? What will be next? And so on and so on, right? So asking those questions immediately, you come up with some ideas and then the next steps and so on, right? This is how it looks, how it lives, Asking questions. That's it.
Yeah.
Don't hesitate. Don't be ashamed. Asking questions sometimes even looks stupid at the first glance, but it is not. Okay.
I like it. Ask questions.
Please. Okay.
Yeah. Not yet.
No, Gulag will be just alternatives and behavior. Miracles. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I think we can actually call it close and
Event.
event over. Awesome.
Okay, guys.
That was
Thank you.
no, thank you.
Thanks for joining us in the Trident Room. For more information about today's guests and topics, please visit the show notes. The Trident Room has been brought to you by the Naval Postgraduate School, Alumni Association, and Foundation. For questions, comments, and suggestions, please email us at tridentroomPodcasthost@nps.edu and find us online at nps.edu/Trident Room Podcast.